This brings us to our last session of the day, which will be international and US offshore wind. This panel will be moderated by Charlie Papavizas, and I'm not going to really give you any more details of that because Charlie is the veteran of the sector, and coincidentally, he's written a book on this very matter named Journey to the Jones Act, which will be available at the front desk if any of you want to purchase that. So Charlie, you and the panel. Do you want me to leave the book here?
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the last panel of the day. I promise I will not talk about the Jones Act unless my panelists bring it up. Eleni's probably the most likely. It's a very exciting panel because everyone on this panel is building vessels or about to build vessels for the offshore wind sector. So they're all putting their money where their mouth is. I think one little bit of context on offshore wind that wasn't really mentioned before, and that is when you're talking about an offshore wind farm, you're talking about a power plant. A typical gas-fired power plant in the United States these days that's constructed new is probably going to generate about 800 megawatts, just shy of 1 gigawatt of electricity. The Coastal Virginia project that's going into the water already, 176 turbines, will generate 2.6 gigawatts. So it's basically almost 3 gas-fired power plants replacement. So I instructed my panelists to talk a little bit about their companies, what they're doing that's exciting. Eleni, we'll start with you and go to Ingmar and Christian. Eleni, please.
Happy to be here. Thank you, Charlie. So I'm the Senior Vice President for Offshore Wind at Great Lakes Dredge and Dock Company. Our ticker is GLDD. My company is the leading dredging company in the United States. So we own and operate a fleet of about 200 vessels. Some of them are large dredges, some of them are support equipment, multi-cats, other types of vessels. And we're happy to be building our first offshore wind specialized vessel. It is a subsea rock installation vessel that we're building at the Philly shipyard. So we're plunging into offshore wind. The vessel is expected to be completed by the middle of next year. And then we go into installing offshore wind farms. We're going to installing the Empire Wind Project for Equinor, and then we continue with the Sunrise Wind Project for Ørsted. We're very excited to start on this new journey for our company, moving and growing into the offshore wind business, which we believe as a dredging company, as a major dredger in the US, we have a lot of local knowledge of in the marine space, in the marine construction space that we can bring into offshore wind. So we are one of the companies that are taking the risk and going into this and putting our expertise and knowledge in the US. We're building a Jones Act vessel. It is a very specialized, large vessel in this space. So we're excited to start this journey.
Sometimes referred to as a rock dumper. A rock dumper.
It is a rock installation vessel that installs rock at the bottom of the ocean with a huge level of accuracy, 20 centimeters of accuracy at the bottom of the ocean. So it's a very specialized automated system that's required for that. Not to be confused with the rock dumping barges.
Ingmar?
Also from my side, happy to be here. I'm representing NAV. NAV is a 100% daughter company of Newport Shipping. NAV is, in a way, the engineering and design for retrofits and on the new building side of Newport Shipping. And I'm representing today a startup company in a way, because we are currently in the process of teaming up with a CTV operator to form a new joint venture company in order to build at least 8 CTVs. And we want to enter the market in the first step on the CTV side. And we are also currently talking to potential partners on the investment side. So it's a bit of a startup company. Ships will be operated in the North Baltic Sea. That's the first idea.
Have you picked a shipyard yet?
We are currently talking to shipyards. So if you do not mind, I will not tell the names yet. So we are in the process, and hopefully next week it can be announced who is our partner, who has also already CTVs, and we in a way want to, let's call it, it's like a business development company for the wind offshore industry, but with a first strong focus on operating CTVs.
Thank you. Christian?
Good afternoon. My name is Christian. I work for Purus. Before Purus, I was a banker, so I spent 20 years of my life in banking, and then moved to Purus to look after the treasury and treasury operations. Purus was formed a couple of years ago, and we focus on energy transition. We own and operate a gas fleet, a wind fleet. We have some partnerships in the container fleet, and we own and operate a ferry system. Focus is offshore wind, but maybe looking at offshore wind, we currently have 27 vessels. We focus on CTVs, SOVs, and CSOVs, all the service required by our clients. Our focus area is currently Europe. We have offices in Newcastle, Swansea, and London, servicing the industry in the European waters. Out of these vessels, about 20 CTVs are on the water, 3 CSOVs are on the water, and 1 SOV is on the water. So our fleet has been growing over the last couple of years, and we see offshore wind as an important part of the energy transition, in particular also in Europe, but probably also globally. And that's part of our core business we are going to develop further. We have operating offices in Swansea and Newcastle, and a corporate office in London. Apart from that, we have a Singapore office, an office in Hong Kong, but they focus more on the gas business currently. So apart from our wind fleet, we own and operate about 14 gas carriers, 3 on the water, 11 in the shipyard.
And what shipyards are you building now and have built at any particular place?
A variety depends on, we built a lot of vessels in the Norwegian shipyards. We built vessels in Dutch shipyards. We have looked at other shipyards. Our gas vessel largely built Korean shipyards. We have built in Chinese shipyards. So it depends on your business a little bit and where the availability is for yard slots.
So you can't build vessels without money. So Eleni, I think you have done, recently your company has done a debt financing. Is that correct? And why don't you describe that a little bit?
That is correct. So the offshore wind vessel that we're building, it's a substantial investment. Our shipyard contract only, it's in the $200 million investment plus equipment that goes on that vessel. And we decided to take the risk and finance that on our balance sheet. And of course, that required to restructure our capital structure. Actually, we have our CFO here. He can go into it in nth amount of detail. But that's how we went into it. Now, when we start talking about growing the offshore wind business and building a second vessel or making additional investments, I think what you're alluding to, we're going to need additional investment, potential partner, either a financial or strategic partner, to be able to grow the business. So.
Yeah, well, obviously you're a public company. Have you thought about issuing equity or not?
All of it is on the table, Charlie, and because building new builds or conversions, it has a long lead time in the market, at least about 3 years to build a big vessel like this. These are all thoughts that we have in our minds currently, and part of why we have a small team of people, including my CFO, in this conference today, Charlie. Thank you.
Yeah, Ingmar, you want to comment where
yes,
you got
in a way,
the dough?
We are also looking for a strategic or financial partner. In the new venture, we will also participate on the equity side, also our partner. And as we already have then operating vessels, So in a way, at the moment, we look very much also on the strategic side. So perfectly would be a strategic investor. Because, as I said before, we see it in a way as a first phase, and we also want to invest in other value, or in the value chain in the wind offshore industry, but step by step.
Christian, you want to comment on where the dough is coming from?
Where they're coming from. I mean, we have support from our equity, our shareholders. We have equity commitments, we have deployed equity, so my role is to look at treasury and financing those assets. And what I realized is depending on the business segments we're in, there's different sources. And offshore wind has been a market which is not as commoditized. So what I mean by that is it's a relatively new market, new assets. It requires a lot of education, but that's also the value add we can bring to the table as a treasury team to find the right partnerships we have in other parts of the business. We won the Money Award of the Year last year for ECA business. We have a partnership bank there and an ECA which has been supporting us. Different sources of financing we derive on the CTV side. I mean, smaller financing amounts is other financing partners you engage with. So I think going forward, that's unlocking these partnerships on the financing side is important.
You mentioned ECAs?
Yes.
Yeah, which ECAs, and how's your experience been with ECAs?
Very good. We have, we built in Norwegian yards, Exfin, so also here they've been very supportive from our business.
Eleni, you don't have an ECA in the United States per se, but I know you've explored Title 11 and other potential government sources of financing. You want to comment on how fruitful that's been and what your expectations are?
Well, we've had discussions, and as you said...
Well, maybe why don't you give a little bit about what is Title 11, or I can do it. Why don't you do it?
I'm sorry, Charlie, I have a hard time. There's a little bit of an echo here. Could you repeat that?
What is Title 11?
Title 11, yes, okay. So Title 11 is a loan program administered by the Maritime Administration, MARAD, for short MARAD, where the government, the US government, provides loan guarantees for vessels and marine assets. The program has had an interest in financing offshore wind vessels, and actually created a specialized program calling offshore wind vessels vessels of national interest. So in a category of their own and with priority in financing these vessels. So we have applied for financing through the program. It is financing with good terms, better than we could find out in the market. But it is a government program, so it takes time. We've been in the queue for a while, and since offshore wind is a new and emerging market, the program is not designed specifically for financing offshore wind vessels. So we're going through this process, educating the MARAD administration about offshore wind. And then there's a tie-in to the White House and the Department of the Treasury that we're working through all of these avenues to make the program in Title 11 applicable and for them to be able to disperse the funds that they already have for offshore wind vessels. So we're hopeful.
Yeah, well, my understanding is it's not really that different than going to a commercial bank in terms of needing charter cover, in terms of needing some balance sheet or charter cover. Is that correct?
Yes, they're looking at risk profiles. They have some risk equations that they look at, just like any commercial bank would. It's just that the approval process on their side, it's different. It goes through the Maritime, the MARAD, and it goes through the Department of Treasury, and then it goes for final signatures. There is a Office of Management and Budget in the White House. So the process by which the loan gets approved, it's a little different than a commercial bank would do.
Ingmar, are you looking at ICA-type financing, government financing for your CTVs?
Yes, what we are currently looking at is, first of all, also commercial banks, because I would say the commercial banks they show more and more interest also in wind offshore. I would say a year ago it was a bit different. They really, at least what we notice in Germany or in Europe, we look for some green funds who are also there. So, but I agree, to get finance, for example, for a CTV, it's not an easy task. But the good thing is in our venture is our partner has already CTVs and they're financed, and this bank already showed interest also to finance more of these CTVs.
Are you building your CTVs to contract, or are you building them on spec, or?
On spec.
But you say you have a partner that's in the
partner who's doing the commercial technical management, who has already a track record. So, no, on the CTV business, really, it's the idea is going forward to place also some on longer-term charter, but especially, as we have our own design, so 26 and 35 meter boats, the charterers first want to see the performance and all this. But going forward, yes, it's the plan to have a mix.
And these are still aluminum catamarans? Yes,
yeah. Hybrid, yeah.
Christian, I know you're building all hybrid fleet, part hybrid fleet. Can you talk a little bit about that? What when we say hybrid, what is it in your case? Is it battery backup? Is it alternative fuel? What exactly are we talking about?
There's a carve-out. It's a treasury person talking now, right? So I'm just reflecting what I learned. No, but ultimately, I mean, our CTV fleet is large. We had conventional, we had 12 packs vessel. Majority of our fleet on the CTV side is now 24 packs hybrids. So we're probably one or even not the largest hybrid operator in the market. Having said so, we are not dependent only on hybrids. We are trying to diversify. We are building methanol-ready vessels. We still have conventionals. We're looking at different kind of technology to decarbonize or to reduce emissions. I think hybrid is something which works immediately right now, but it's not the only technology we can utilize. It's the same thing for CSOVs. On the CSOV side, we have hybrids, methanol-ready CSOVs. We have a conventional as well, still, where we're looking how to further lower emissions going forward and retrofit it potentially. So it's a variety of things. When you look at our other parts of the business, we have certain dual fuel engines, we have some carbon capture system part of our business, so we learn from them. We have fully electrified ferries, so that's a benefit we are having to learn from the different business segments, what works on different asset classes and sizes and infrastructure which is available. So there's no solution fits all. But.
In offshore wind, are developers rewarding you for having alternative fuels, hybrid? Is the offering something that gets a benefit in the market, or is it something else?
I ask this question always internally. Do we get a benefit out of it? I mean, depending where you are, I mean, we do see there's a demand for hybrid vessels. I do think people look at their profile, look to decarbonize their supply chain. So I do think there's a benefit. There are certain requirements on having hybrids or certain emissions.
You don't see a tender that indicates you get a plus X%?
Yes, I think.
Oh, you do?
Preferences, yeah. Oh, not a plus, but preferences for certain asset types.
Okay.
I think we have seen this before.
Eleni, you looked like you wanted to say something about the hybrid.
Yeah, the emissions and the hybrid, yeah. Well, first of all, these vessels are going to be in operation for 20, 25 years, 30 years, so the technology will evolve and get cleaner during this period of time. So if you want to put some clean technology in the vessel, now is the time to do it if you're doing a new build. When you go to the developers and you tender for contracts, they will have some emissions requirements while you're working at the offshore wind site. So you want to make sure you satisfy those. And that you are competitive. And depending on the market, for example, if you're going to go work in a very competitive European market, maybe the requirements are a bit higher than in more remote, let's say if you work in Asia or something.
Well, your vessel is battery backup, dual fuel capable, correct?
Exactly, yes. So we tried to put the technology that's available. It's Tier 4 engines, so...
and cold
it's more fuel efficient as well. It's not just the emissions, right? So
and cold iron capable? I mean, in other words, you're going to switch over to
yes,
local
so
power?
Biofuels, the engines are capable of running on biofuel if the fuel is available, of course. So that supply of the fuel is an issue.
Ingmar, I don't know if you wanted to comment about hybrid. Your vessel is hybrid?
Yes.
And by hybrid, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's battery support. I mean, it's dual fuel hybrid.
Okay.
So, you know, I think, especially for us being, let's say, in a way, a new venture, I mean, I think this was never under discussion that we don't do it without. So it's a must.
Can you each talk a little bit about your market, the market, your preferred market, or any market you want to talk about actually, but your preferred market, and what you see as the positives and the negatives? Eleni, you want to start with the U.S. market? I mean, you see it as a buoyant market, as I mean, there's obviously been some negative news in the last year or so. I mean, from my perspective, the market is chugging along. There may be a period of time like 2027 when there won't be very much activity, but then activity will pick up again.
Yes, so if you look at the latest reports published by Bloomberg or 4C Offshore, which is very reputable sources for market outlook and information, Bloomberg is really very, very optimistic about the US market, as well as the global offshore wind markets. So it predicts a tenfold increase of gigawatts globally between now and 2040. And similarly, the US is placed in the top 3 offshore wind markets in the world, behind only mainland China, and almost on par with the UK offshore wind market. So there's a lot of positives in there. Yes, there has been some resetting, especially in the US market. But as the Rystad colleague said, the governments, and in the case of the US, the states, have offered power purchase agreements with much better terms, much higher prices. So they came to the table, and the states are willing to support offshore wind. So we've seen that resetting happen already.
Ingmar, you want to comment? I mean, which market do you feel like your CTVs are going to wind up in? Europe, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes, in Europe. No, in general, listen, I'm very positive. In general, I'm absolutely positive. And I think the CTV market needs modern new ships. That's why we also focus on 2 designs. One is the 35 meter, because this has the big advantage. It can go longer distances and support the SOVs very much. Then I think we might see some consolidation coming in the coming years in the CTV market. So, listen, sometimes, you know, being also in this industry, or maybe not in the wind offshore, but in shipping for many, many years, it's sometimes maybe even too positive, and then makes you also a little bit, let's see where the market develops. And it's a market where politics are also very crucial to the market. So, but
we're going to come back to the politics.
Okay, but today I'm positive.
Christian, I don't know if you wanted to
think about what to say. I mean, we are obviously very positive about offshore wind, otherwise we won't be doing it. But I think everybody has to understand that it's structurally complete different markets than going into oil and gas. The demand drivers are different, right? And we have all seen it. So I think we've seen the hockey stick this morning, right, from the research report, or this afternoon. I mean, it's tremendous. It's great. But we have seen already disruption of delays. We have seen disruption of rebudgetings. So I think it's a different process of adjusting the demand driven by certain requirements. Energy transition is driven by driven demand from politicians or from politics, from countries. And I think we have to observe this, right? And it will grow, but will it grow as we saw it? That's a question mark, right? We are very positive about this market. The other one, supply at the moment has been disciplined to some extent because financing is not available, which is a good thing, maybe, right? So we have to be mindful about this as well. So we are positive. We are in this market because we see that we can play a role there. You have to build your operations, you have to build your track records, you have to get the financing in place, and there's a good demand story. And but we have to observe. We have seen already adjustments. So that's something, and where we operate is Europe. That's where we are at the moment.
Well, the last, Stefan and his guests said before that the market is moving to longer duration contracts, to not 3 or 4 month or 1 season contracts. to year and 2-year time charters. Is that something you see in the market? Eleni, you're in a little bit of a specialized market.
Yes, we don't do day rates and charters that way. We take on projects, but we also have seen some longer-term agreements, service agreements come to play here for vessels like wind turbine installation vessels. So we're starting to see longer-term contracts being signed.
With good cancellation provisions, or
well, we've had a contract with Equinor for Empire Wind 2, which was canceled, and there were cancellation fees included in that as well. So it's how you negotiate these contracts. Offshore wind contracts are interesting and negotiable.
Yeah, I mean, when I read the negative news about the Ørsted cancellations, my clients were happy because their cancellation clauses were very generous. But I don't know that that's going to continue. I mean, what have you seen in the market in terms of getting 1 or 2 year charters for CTVs?
For CTVs, we have some of our CTVs on 5 years contracts. They have been servicing clients for a long time. We have some, but we have a large fleet size, and we want to service our clients. We have some vessels available for the summer campaigns for our clients. We have longer-term charters with our clients. So we have seen a variety out there. We do like a certain contracted cash flow in our CTV fleet, which we maintain. But we do service our clients across different kind of tenors. So we have seen that. And then when you look at SOVs and CSOVs, I mean, CSOVs, service commissioning and service contracts, commissioning contracts typically are 1 to 3 years. Right? That's what you would see. On the servicing side, you can see longer term contracts. There's a few very long-term contracts, but yeah, it's probably medium-term contracts like 5-ish years you could see. But you see longer-term contracts as well.
So I mentioned that we were going to come back to the politics, and maybe, Eleni, you have the hardest to deal with here. But obviously we have a presidential election where one person believes that offshore wind kills whales, birds, and causes cancer, and has pledged on day one to stop offshore wind. So
it also creates a lot of jobs, and it creates a massive opportunity for supply chain development and opportunities for growth for a lot of companies.
But aren't many of those jobs in the Northeast, which is not exactly Donald Trump country?
Yeah. So yes, I think the message here is that regardless of who is in the administration, the facts are the facts, and the jobs are getting created, and the investments are getting made, and there's a huge opportunity. Talking about the marine space here, there's a massive opportunity for investment and to build the supply chain and the vessels that are required to install and operate these wind farms. So I think regardless of administration, these are the facts for the market. And there's a good momentum in the market. There is 10 gigawatts and a little more that will be fully permitted and approved by the end of the year. And those will be installed in the next 3 to 4 years.
Any quick comment on the politics? The European politics, I don't think, really can change much, but I'm an outsider. Anything different on that?
Yeah, in a way, I think you're right. I think maybe I should just say facts are the facts. You know, that's also in Europe. I mean, this is, listen, don't misunderstand me, I'm not negative on politics, but it's just something which is there. And but I think Europe, we will go our way.
So we have only a couple minutes. You sort of all answered this already, but I'll ask it again. Optimistic or pessimistic about offshore wind? We'll go down. Eleni, just 30 seconds.
We're optimistic. We just invested $250 million in offshore wind. We have to be optimistic. And we're optimistic about working on building our second vessel in this space.
Ingmar?
Yeah, not much to add. Optimistic. And, you know, we put a lot of time in there, and we have to be optimistic, really.
Moderately optimistic. I think we have to observe, but generally the fundamentals are there. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much to the panel, and thank you very much to the audience for paying attention.